So when you're starting your hoop journey, the types of hoops and figuring out what hoop is for you can be difficult. In this video, I want to go over the types of tubings and some hoop lingo to help you begin your journey. PE or PSI, Polypro, HDPE, Target hoop, a wave hoop, polycarb, and dollar store hoops. So here we have what is called PE tubing, or referred to as PSI tubing. This is polyethylene. You can buy it yourself at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can make them yourself because all the supplies to do that are at the hardware store. These are often they're called beginner hoops. Then you have your Polypro hoop and your HDPE hoop. Polypro and HDPE are very similar. They are often called an intermediate type hoop, but as the saying goes, all the hoops. So I started out personally with some Polypros and some PE tubing, some PE hoops. And I recommend starting out with all the hoops anyways. So whether you choose HDPE or Polypro is not that big of a difference. They're about the same weight. As a word of warning, sometimes people will refer to a beginner's PE hoop as an HDPE hoop. So if you're talking to someone and they say, oh, my HDPE hoop was so heavy and it was really hard to learn off body tricks with, they're probably referring to a PE hoop, because an HDPE hoop is really light and it's almost the same weight as a Polypro. So it should be easy to learn off body tricks with, and it shouldn't be considered a heavy hoop. I've talked to an engineer about this who is also a hooper, and she said that in fact they're right when they call this an HDPE hoop, because the material really is HDPE. I don't know if she's right, but in the hooping community, when we say an HDPE hoop, we're referring to this. And so when we say a PE hoop, we mean one of these beginner hoops, which is heavier. This warning is really directed more towards when you're talking to somebody about advice and they're giving you tips or recommendations for what kind of hoop to get. Then you also have your Target or Walmart hoops. These are wave hoops and they come with water in them. So a common thing to do is to buy one of these and let the water out. You will notice that this one's black and this one's pretty. I simply took the pretty foil off of this one and then used WD-40 to wipe all the sticky residue off. These are a great place to start. It's like $6. So if you want a light hoop to play with, but you're not ready to spend $30 on something like this, then these are a good place to start. Most people, once they get one of these, prefer it over one of these. So keep that in mind. Then there's also polycarb or polycarbonate. It is skinnier, it's kind of glassy. You'll also see it referred to as a bubble hoop. These are a little bit harder to work with because they're so bouncy, and they're probably more of an intermediate hoop. However, like I said, all the hoops. Then you have your dollar store hoops. These are very light, super light. There is more tubing than this. It's not an exhaustive list. There's also PEX tubing, which people use as well, which you can find at Home Depot and Lowe's also. So next, let's go over hoop lingo.